Hey, what's up, guys? Okay, so today I want to talk about the benefits of a chiropractor. Now, before you click away, I just want to discuss all the different opinions and thoughts about a chiropractor because a lot of people have the same thinking. I've spoken to hundreds of people that tell me that I'm talking rubbish and that they've been to chiropractors and that the chiropractors hurt them more and they feel a lot worse. So, a lot of people go to a vascular surgeon or an orthopedic surgeon and they get all these different ideas and thoughts from the surgeons and specialists, and they come to the conclusion that that's the right way, and the chiropractor didn't know what they were talking about, so they're not going to investigate further there, or they go for acupuncture and that didn't do anything. But people all follow the same path. People are sheep in general. Nobody thinks for themselves anymore, and nobody is willing to try. I can tell you from personal experience that going to the doctor, I would always go to the doctor for everything. If I felt a little bit sick, go to the doctor, get antibiotics, get better. When I got my TOS, I went to my GP. He didn't know what it was. I went for x-rays. I went to an orthopedic surgeon who sort of diagnosed me because of my blue arm and my numb feeling at certain angles. I then went to the vascular surgeon. The vascular surgeon spent like 10 minutes with me, wasn't really interested, but he's the top guy in the country. And he did a few tests, told me that he also suspects that it's TOS, and he was going to book me in for cutting out my top rib, just like that. So I wasn't happy about that, especially after he told me that he did an angiogram actually of a patient the day before. And while that patient was having the angiogram, which they cut into your groin and stick the dye in there, the patient was bleeding out and was almost dead. But he said that it's no big deal, and he tried to save the person and everything's going to be fine when I go for my surgery. So that didn't help me, and this was like the top guy that every other doctor told me to go to. So when you've got those conflicting ideas, you've got the top guy, but then he's telling you that his patient nearly died the day before, and he says it's so blasé that it's like just another day at the office where this happens all the time. You start doubting all these options, and you lose your trust and your faith in these doctors. So I've already had a surgery on my right shoulder because of my motorbike accident, and I've got a pin holding everything together. And I really didn't feel like going through the pain of another operation and the physical therapy afterwards, and just the general, it's going to take so long to get motion back and everything. So I thought to myself, let me try different options and try everything I can, exhaust all the options before making a decision for surgery. So I cancelled the appointment, and I started looking for options. I started with acupuncture. Now the thing with acupuncture is you cannot go for one session and then say, oh, this isn't working and it doesn't feel like anything. I went for about 7 sessions in total, and every session I went for, I promise you, you need to find, whatever you go to, you need to find the proper person to do it. Because I went to one acupuncture specialist and I felt nothing. The second lady I went to, she stuck one needle in my hand. She asked me where my pain was, and I was having a lot of rhomboid pain at the time. It worked its way up from like lower back pain to rhomboid pain to eventually scapular pain and eventually the TOS. So before it was like full-blown TOS, I was going just for acupuncture just to loosen up my rhomboids. And I told her where the pain was, and she stuck that needle in my hand here, somewhere around the center of my hand. And as she stuck it in, she twisted it slightly, and my rhomboid started jumping on this same side. And I couldn't believe it. It was like it was loosening up immediately. And I thought it was a coincidence. And every time I went for those 7 sessions, I eventually had no back pain. I was fine. But obviously my lifestyle, and I didn't make changes to the way I was sitting and postural changes. Like obviously that pain came back, and I had my TOS, which was building up, because there are certain things when I look back, like I was dropping things in my left hand, and I had a lot of weakness in this arm and I couldn't keep it up for long. So it was obviously building up, and you don't realize it until one day you just wake up and my arm was completely numb and blue, and then you got a big problem. So the first was the acupuncture, and then I went to a chiropractor, and it was the same chiropractor that I've been going to my whole life. Like when I had a car accident when I was little and I had whiplash, he sorted me out, aligned me, everything felt great. And as good as he was, when I went for him for my shoulder, he didn't actually help me. He did make it worse, because he did certain motions where he clicked my shoulder and twisted my scapula, which generally would have worked, but because I had TOS, I had such a bad flare up and it didn't help me at all. So I was also thinking to myself, okay, chiropractors are out of the question. So I carried on looking, and I eventually found a chiropractor. Her name is Charmaine Young, Dr. Charmaine Young, and she runs Better Backs in Bedford View. Now, not only does she do chiropractic, she does dry needling, which is similar to acupuncture, but it's more specific to the muscle. And she does certain stretches and movements that don't hurt you, but they actually aid in the healing. So instead of her just taking your shoulder, clicking it in a certain way, she'll assess how high, what level your shoulders are sitting at. Maybe your hips are misaligned and you're compensating with your shoulder, or you have bad posture. She'll go through the whole thing with you. So the point of it is, find a chiropractor, or find whatever you're going to, find someone that knows what they're talking about. Don't just go for one idea. If I just went to my GP, and from my GP he sent me to the orthopedic surgeon, and the orthopedic surgeon sent me to the vascular surgeon, I would have had surgery now and I would have been struggling. I can just feel it. I would have still been struggling. I would have still been struggling with my TOS, maybe have less symptoms in the brachial plexus area, but I definitely still had pec major, pec minor issues, and I had a lot of bad postural issues and stuck scapula, frozen shoulder. So a lot of people with TOS sort out their TOS, possibly, not all the time, because scar tissue develops there and they still have problems. So you need to see what happens. So you can sort out your TOS, but have you sorted out your posture? Have you sorted out your weak abdominals? Have you sorted out your bad rotation in your pelvis due to your tight hip flexors? There's so many things that you don't sort out, and it's all of those issues that build up into full-blown TOS. If you feel that your chiropractor is hurting you, you're obviously going to the wrong chiropractor. There are many different doctors that don't know what they're talking about because they're stuck in old habits or they were trained a certain way. Find a chiropractor that continuously studies, continuously moves with the times, tries different things, is not stuck with one path. If you go to a doctor, you go to a chiropractor, you go to anyone that only has one way of thinking and refuses to look elsewhere, those are the people you want to stay away from. You want an open-minded doctor that's willing to explore different options for you. You want to find a chiropractor that explores different methods, that helps you in different ways that a normal chiropractor or acupuncture specialist would help you with. Find the right chiropractor that does understand TOS and that can help you, that understands that the compression of the top rib can be lowered and it can save that nerve. I've got no nerve damage, and everybody that I talk to has nerve damage, even if they've had the operation, because they've had TOS for so long and have done nothing about it, that they've got the nerve damage. Figure out where the cause is, what your problems with your body are. Write down that you sit and watch TV for 8 hours a day and you're leaning like this on your one side and you're experiencing a little bit of side pain. Because if you can see that and write down what you do in a day, you can see that, oh wait, I'm sitting like this for 8 hours a day, my QL is shortening and my posture is not good, my neck is at a certain tilt, which adds extra pressure on the one side. There's things that you can change on a daily basis. And I lost a large part of my life as well when I had TOS. So that's what inspired me to help myself. And by helping myself, it helped me be more knowledgeable about what I was going through. I presented that to the doctors, and it was just finding the right people. I knew more than some of the doctors knew. When I went back to the vascular surgeon, he couldn't believe that I had 0% compression without having the surgery. He was totally amazed that I had no surgery and I managed to have 0% compression and 0% nerve damage. So you can't just assume that because they're a doctor, they know everything. Yes, they've studied, they know a lot, but it's your body. You know your body better than anybody else knows their body. So that's just my piece of advice today. And I'm getting a lot of different questions. Just keep them coming. I'll try to answer you. If anybody has any other ideas of different stretches or different movements, just comment below and I'll try do a video series just to help guide you. And I hope this information helps a lot, and I hope it can educate you a little bit just to make the right decisions and get better. That's all my channel is about, is trying to help people recover from injuries, get better, live a better life, and be stronger than they were yesterday. So I hope this helps, and I'll see you guys soon.
Alright. So what happens is that with thoracic outlet syndrome is that there's usually compression of the blood vessels and nerves that actually come from the neck, originate from the neck area, and actually go down into the arm. So there are two bones that whole complex will pass through. So the one is the collarbone, and then the first rib, which actually it's a bit of a different kind of rib, because normally your ribs run sort of almost around, but the first rib actually runs almost horizontal. So if you can imagine, if this is the collarbone and this is the first rib, if that first rib is elevated, it actually can compress all of those blood vessels and the nerve that passes through that. So the idea is to actually try and lower that first rib to create a bit more space and remove that compression. Okay, so normally what it is if the first rib, this is your collarbone here, okay, that runs across that way, and the first rib would be quite deep underneath all of these tissues. So the idea is to actually get into that area where that first rib is, and then as you do the adjustments, it's to drive that rib downwards to be able to create a bit of space. Okay.